salads, soups and sides, entrees, desserts, spreads, and more. Just saying the words can make us hungry for lunch. Today the word app means a button on our smartphone, but in our grandmother's cookbooks, an app was an appetizer or an hors d'oeuvre, and it could be anything from pickled shrimp to clam dip. For many generations, the go-to source for culinary inspiration was a carefully curated cookbook of recipes, passed down from generation to generation. Often the recipes weren't written down, just verbally passed along. When they were recorded, they were often written down on any scrap of paper that was handy, sometimes barely legible, but full of family tradition. Many times, these well-loved recipes were selectively shared in a community cookbook. These collections of recipes are so reflective of a community that very often they're collected and carefully preserved in libraries and museums. The Georgetown County Library archives contain a number of these older cookbooks, most of them donated by families, stains, handwritten notes, and helpful tips still visible in the margins. Community cookbooks have long been a favorite to collect, as recipes and names are often a visual reminder of who came before us. These small, spiral-bound books can usually be found at yard sales and thrift stores, casually forgotten, but when you look through them, you see there's so much more than a cookbook. From family recipes to advertisements for local businesses, these recipe books are a valuable part of a community's cultural history. They are often sponsored by local churches and organizations as fundraisers, and they are often a reflection of an era in which they are created. The older the cookbook or recipe, sometimes the harder it is to recognize the dish. More recent generations rarely understand the stuffed, jellied, mayonnaise dishes that our grandmothers enjoyed. Congealed salads, icebox rolls, and salmon molds are rarely eaten today, but were lovingly prepared for dinner tables across the Lowcountry. Sometimes the recipes are so brief in their description that one wonders how they were ever recreated. Today, we often refer to photographs and detailed descriptions, but many of the older recipes are barely a line or two in length. Grandma Cross's recipe for packed eggs comes from the upstate of South Carolina. Today, we go to the grocery store to buy eggs, but in the 1930s, Grandma Cross and others were looking for ways to preserve, long-term, these precious foods. The eggs, once packed, would keep for up to 2 years. Her recipe for snowdrift cake was very simple. It lists the ingredients, but there are no steps on how to actually prepare the food. It simply says, flavor to taste. Her recipe for spice cake was even briefer, with no instructions, just ingredients. Today the term low country cuisine has become popular, and it refers to traditional foods commonly found along the coast of South Carolina and Georgia. Shrimp and grits, she crab soup, purlo, fish and red rice, and oysters have traditionally made a regular appearance on most low country tables any night of the week. Go through cookbooks and you find numerous recipes that used local produce, seafood, and other food ways that were available to households big and small. Crabs, clams, shrimp, oysters all appear frequently in various forms, seasonally caught and available to area residents. One Georgetown cookbook has a whole section on purlo, a local favorite made with rice, chicken or pork, sausage, and other preferred ingredients. Not all cookbooks are created equal, and sometimes they're quite humble in their origin. Blank books hold together handwritten notes, newspaper or magazine clippings, and are all pasted into one book with notes and inserts added along the way. A handwritten recipe for orange marmalade calls for 6 oranges, 3 lemons, sliced thinly, and once prepared made 10 pounds of marmalade. A note at the bottom instructs someone to give Violet the recipe and to tell her it is excellent. Mrs. Barrows' muffins, written down in 1898, gives a simple step-by-step for how to make the basic muffin. While cooking and recipe sharing has changed in our more modern world, these small paper cookbooks act as a portal to the past, encouraging us to take a moment and remember a time when food was shared, enjoyed, and even embraced by families. If you have family recipes at home, pull them out and read them. Recognize the handwriting and maybe even cook the recipe. The library's collections will be online soon, and we encourage you to browse through these various recipes and enjoy them, stains and all.